Charlie Gard's short life ended a week ago, on July the 28th, 1 week shy of his first birthday, in a medical crib at the Great Ormond Street Hospital in London. While mitochondrial disease was the clinical cause of his death, it was not the agency of his death. The agency of his death was Great Britain's National Health Service, the NHS. I'm Michael Jaffe, and this is the Two Israels podcast. Charlie Gard was born perfectly healthy, with no outward signs of disease. 2 months later, Charlie's parents noticed he had trouble breathing. They brought Charlie to Great Ormond Street Hospital, where Charlie was soon placed on a machine to help his breathing. A month later, in November, Great Ormond Street physicians diagnosed Charlie with mitochondrial syndrome, a disorder that occurs when cell structures which produce energy malfunction and causes progressive muscle weakness and brain damage. At that time, Charlie's mother and father, Connie Yates and Chris Gard, were determined to both be carriers of the gene which causes the rare disease. After 2 months of searching for therapies for Charlie, Connie Yates found a US-based doctor willing to provide a trial therapy called nucleoside that has met with success on children with a similar syndrome but has never been used to treat Charlie's condition, mitochondrial syndrome. Last January, she set up a crowdfunding page to raise the funds necessary to cover Charlie's transportation and therapy. In early March, Great Ormond Street Hospital lawyers requested a British judge to issue a ruling to stop Charlie's life support. The request was granted in mid-April. Meanwhile, crowdfunding had raised $1.6 million for Charlie's therapy. 2 weeks later, the Guards petitioned a court of appeals to consider the case and release Charlie to their custody for treatment in the USA. After 3 weeks, the appeals court dismissed the Guards' petition. The case swiftly reached the UK's Supreme Court, only to be similarly dismissed. On June the 20th, the European Court of Human Rights began to read materials connected to Charlie's case. A week later, the court announced that it would not intervene. June 30th was set as the date to stop Charlie's life support. But following national and international outcry, Great Ormond Street Hospital later announced that it would give the Guards some more time to be with Charlie. On July the 10th, the originally presiding judge stated that he would consider new evidence to reverse his ruling forbidding the Guards from taking Charlie for experimental therapy in the USA. On July 17th, Dr. Michio Hirano, the New York neurology professor who originally offered to treat Charlie, traveled to London to examine Charlie, discuss with Great Ormond Street Hospital doctors and other clinicians, and examine fresh scans. A week later, after Dr. Hirano's analysis of Charlie's test results, Connie Yates and Chris Gard announced that they were ending their legal fight, saying that time had run out for Charlie. Dr. Hirano's analysis of Charlie's scans taken in January led him to conclude that Charlie very well might have benefited from the experimental therapy at that time. But the June scans indicated that after 6 months, the disease had ravaged Charlie's muscles and brain function to the point that the therapy would likely provide no benefit. So the UK's NHS, abetted by the courts, actively prevented the Guards from saving their son, even though the therapy would not have cost the NHS or British taxpayers a single pence. That is state-sanctioned murder. NHS claims that it was saving Charlie from pain or saving his dignity, as empty and cynical an argument as ever was to justify murder, ring utterly hollow. The Guards were challenging the hegemony of the state in controlling the health of its subjects. They did not meekly surrender their natural rights to care for Charlie as the people put on this earth to most love him. The crowdfunding demonstrated that friends and total strangers practiced values of decency and compassion, proving that governments are not the source of benevolence among human beings. It exposed the government's abysmal failure to provide health and welfare, as well as the state's jealous and vengeful lengths to assert its hegemony. This debacle was not only a battle for Charlie, it was an outrageous landmark for the rights of parents and the defiance of government hegemony over the individual. If that sounds like an abstraction, please note that a real baby died, the casualty of a situation in which socialized medicine and statism had run amok, unchecked by any respect for the natural law that accords supreme authority for a child's care to his mother and father. There is an ironic footnote to the case of Charlie Gard. The Great Ormond Street Hospital has, for almost 90 years, been the beneficiary of a major financial windfall. In 1929, author J.M. Barrie gifted the rights and royalties to Peter Pan, one of the most retold stories of stage and cinema, to the Great Ormond Street Hospital. At the time he wrote Peter Pan, Barrie had adopted two sons of parents who had tragically died. A major theme of Peter Pan is the critical value of parents to a child's well-being, even a child who never grows up. In a more tragic and sad way, Charlie will also never grow up. But Charlie was denied his parents' loving care by the very institution benefited by the telling and retelling of Barrie's classic beloved tale. What would J.M. Barrie have made of the case of Charlie Gard? He would have been horrified and outraged. This is Michael Jaffe for the Two Israels podcast.